Most of the issues in smartphones these days are privacy issues. They are not security issues. And smart devices, especially iPhones, are doing pretty well when it comes to security. So Apple iOS works on a closed security model, which would mean that if I want to run an iOS application on your phone, which I have developed and customized, I have to ship it to Apple, and Apple would approve it, and then it would upload it to their iOS App Store, and then only you would be able to execute it in your cell phone. Now, this model has been pretty successful at preventing all sorts of malware. It is very rare to see a malware targeting iPhone because you have to jailbreak the phone to install any applications outside App Store. Now, coming back to this privacy issue, I recently tweeted about Samsung's Bixby, which is equivalent to Siri, which is installed as a system application. It is able to monitor your microphone, your location. It has unfettered access to your files, and you cannot disable it because of the fact that it is a system application and you have to root it. Now, Samsung is trying pretty hard, on the lines of security, whereas in terms of privacy, I believe Apple is giving much more flexibility to its users. And more specifically with iOS, we have seen with recent updates is they are growing more and more privacy centric. So for instance, if an application collects your data and links your data to your identity, they must explicitly tell it. Now, of course, that is something that is very beneficial because it gives control back to the user. And more recently, Apple came up with this do not track feature, whereby we are going from opt-out model to opt-in model. So, of course, that has changed the entire advertising sphere for advertising companies. So 5G has gone under many protocol level advancements. So for instance, attacks like IMSI catchers and Stingray are not going to work in 5G. We had IMSI and IMSI, which was being sent in clear text when your phone was connected to a base station or the tower, and which means that any passive attacker was able to intercept IMSI and IMSI. This was the same until 3G, but in 4G, IMSI wasn't encrypted, whereas in 5G, both IMSI and IMSI are stored in a special encrypted container. Majority of the threats to 5G do not come from the protocol itself. They come from the applications and use cases around 5G. So for instance, IoT, Internet of Things. One of the main advantage for 5G, apart from low latency and high bandwidth, is low power consumption. And that is a perfect model for IoT devices, and it would empower things like machine-to-machine economy. Because 5G is a protocol that was more developed for machine-to-machine communication, so things like autonomous vehicles. So high-band 5G frequencies can only travel to a very short distance. And therefore, you would have a lot of these small cells at a very short distance, which are referred as Picocells. Now, what these Picocells would allow somebody that gains hold of those access points is to track somebody in a more efficient manner. There would be other attacks on the core network. So for instance, diameter protocol is a protocol that would be subject to certain attacks because 5G is more IP-based network. So one additional thing that I tell people, when connecting to public networks, LTE, and even 5G, is that they should use a VPN, which would have an additional layer of encryption and which would protect the confidentiality. And the VPN is often misunderstood by people that it is meant to be protecting your anonymity, whereas what it does is it encrypts your data and protects your confidentiality. So there's this important distinction to make.